Okay, I think we will get started. Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, whichever is appropriate for your time zone. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to give you an overview today of the international school landscape here in the UAE. So whether you are relocating, considering a move, or just exploring your options at this stage, we're here to help you navigate what is a very dynamic and diverse educational landscape here in the UAE. So today we will cover everything from key factors in your school selection. We'll talk about curriculum comparison, application processes, and how best to prepare your child for this exciting transition ahead. Okay, next slide. So we are EDSG. So here is a quick overview of who we are and what we do. We are a school search consultancy. We work alongside families to provide support for them on their school search in a bespoke way. So we work with families and we tailor the support. Our impact is that we provide stress-free relocation for the part of the relocation that is often the most stressful. We work very closely with our families to find the right fit school. And our biggest strengths are that we have local expertise on the ground in the cities that we work in. We've got a really strong network of schools, and we've got trusted consultants that work on a one-to-one basis with every family. Okay, next slide, please. And here are just some of our team. So my name's Lauren Hughes. I am based in the UAE. These are some of our other consultants that we have here in the UAE. And between us, we have over 50 years of experience in education and admissions. So my background is from inside the classroom and in school leadership. So I was in the classroom and on the inside of schools for 15 plus years in the UK and in a British international school here in the UAE. I also have 3 children of my own, so I've been on your side as parents trying to navigate what is a really complex educational landscape. And then since doing consultancy, we've placed over 1,000 students across the UAE, so very familiar with the options here and are ready to help you on this move. Okay, next slide, please. So relocating to the UAE is a very exciting opportunity, but choosing the right school can come with some concerns. So taking the time to work with a consultant to understand your options helps you to ensure continuity of learning for your child. It minimizes the disruption in their learning journey, and it allows your child to settle confidently into their new environment. So with the right support and the right guidance, families can make informed choices for both academic success and for a smooth transition and soft landing into their new life in the UAE. So here's today's agenda. So we are going to go over the educational landscape as kind of a bird's eye view of what the lay of the land is here. We will compare curriculums. We'll talk about some of the key factors to consider when you're choosing a school. And then we will run through with you what our school search support looks like. We'll give you some direction to some other resources that we have for preparing your child for the move. And then at the end, we will have a Q&A session. So if any questions occur to you during the presentation, feel free to pop them into the chat, and my colleague Amar will help answer them there. She will also pop into the chat the link to have a one-to-one free education consultant with myself or someone from the team. That will mean that this is an overview, but if you book in to have a consultation with us, we can offer that really tailored, bespoke support. And then at the end, if we haven't managed to answer your questions in the chat, we'll open up the floor for discussion at the end. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the international school landscape here in the UAE is incredibly diverse. We've got over 400 schools offering 20 plus curriculums, educating students from over 100 different nationalities. And the diversity and high standards are really why it's one of the top destinations for education now. Globally, it's often one of the primary reasons for families moving into the UAE now is because of the world-class offerings of education. So when we are talking about schooling here in an international setting, it's really important for us to distinguish between national programs of curriculum and then international. So most of you will be looking at this move from the UK. And so in the UK, especially in the state setting, all schools follow the UK curriculum, so the British national curriculum. That is the national curriculum of that country. Whereas when you make the move over to an international setting, you still have the option to continue in your national curriculum, or you might want to offer your child a more global perspective, and in which case an international curriculum may be of interest to you. And we can do a little bit of comparison of those later. During the consultation, if you book in to have a one-to-one conversation, we can really dig into your child's student profile, their academic profile, and we align them very carefully with a curriculum that's going to facilitate and enable them to achieve the best of their ability. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so these are some of the language options that are offered in schools in the UAE. Now, for many of you coming from the UK, English will be your first language, and so perfectly aligns with the language of instruction in the international schools here. The language of instruction is predominantly by a large way, it is English. So there are some options. There are some schools that offer a bilingual program. Some offer French and English, or Spanish and English, Arabic and English. But the main language of instruction in the international schools is English. There are second language options. So the mandatory second language here in the UAE would be Arabic. So if you're coming from the UK, your child will be registered as a non-native Arabic speaker. So they will have their Arabic lessons, but it will almost be taught to them in the same way as a modern foreign language. So they will go into the classroom, the language of instruction will be English, and they'll learn Arabic just like they would learn French or Spanish. And then there will also be another language option as well. Usually in the British curriculum schools, they offer French or they offer Spanish. So they will end up speaking a range of languages by the time they leave, usually their first language, and then the Arabic, and then their chosen modern foreign language as well. If English is not your mother tongue or isn't your primary language at home, there are language support programs. So children who are coming in who have English as an additional language, there are really well-developed programs in the international settings whereby they can accelerate their English acquisition. Okay, next slide, please. Tuition fees, so budgetary requirements are obviously a key part of your school search criteria, and there is a huge range of tuition fees here in the UAE. So they can range from 20,000 dirhams a year to over 200,000 dirhams a year now. So factors that will influence the tuition fees will be things like the curriculum. So some curriculums are just more expensive to provide than others. The facilities, the standard of facilities will obviously impact the pricing, and the school's reputation as well. So the better a school gets, the better the more in demand it is, the more they will naturally put up their tuition fees. Next slide, please. Another thing to think about when you're moving over is student diversity. So the UAE is home to some of the most diverse international schools with students from all over the world, ensuring a truly multicultural experience for your child moving over. But it's worth considering what kind of international setting you are looking for. So some families are looking for a truly international experience, where maybe everyone on your son's football team is from a different country, whereas other families are looking for a more dominant demographic. So they might be looking for a larger British community, for example, because they may feel that that might facilitate a softer landing for their child. So something to consider. And there really are options in terms of what type of student diversity you're looking for. And we can help to guide you towards the right schools that are in alignment with your request. Okay, next slide, please. So the UAE is home to some of the most prestigious international schools, delivering truly world-class education and outstanding academic achievements. We've seen in recent years that many students are choosing to stay on to do their GCSEs, their A-levels, and even their university years here in the UAE now. Whereas 15 years ago, it was standard practice to maybe return to your home country. The academic outcomes here in the UAE are truly world-class, which means parents and students are more inclined to do their major exams here in the UAE. So these results truly reflect the high quality education available. The top tier schools are consistently producing outstanding academic outcomes, and families can be assured of exceptional learning opportunities for their children. So whether you're looking to pursue the International Baccalaureate, the GCSE pathway, or maybe BTEC, the UAE are well prepared for success in all curriculum pathway options. Next slide, please. So the UAE is home to an incredible range of international school groups. So some of these are pictured here, and I'm sure you'll recognize some of them. They offer a whole range of curriculums alongside different teaching philosophies, different values, different learning environments, and we're lucky enough to work with all of them. So we've got a really wide range of options that we can recommend to you. As you can see from the logos displayed here, we've got a really comprehensive database with major school groups, premium institutions like Talim, GEMS, Nord Anglia, and then some globally recognized names as well. So Cognita, Nord Anglia is global too. And then some that are a bit more specific to the region here, countries like groups like Aldar, which you may not have heard of because they are UAE specific. Okay, next slide, please. So as you may have noticed, the move from the UK to the UAE is becoming increasingly popular. I think we will all probably know someone that has made that move or is planning to make that move. And in response to that growing population, the major education groups are adding to their portfolio of schools, which is great news for families like yourselves. So hopefully, because the population is growing, the number of schools are growing, and hopefully that's going to ease the waiting list situation and mean that there isn't such an overwhelm for schools here. So here are just some of the new schools that we are seeing, but every week we are hearing about a new premium British school being added to portfolios. So it's a really exciting, very dynamic time to be here in the UAE. Okay, next slide, please. So location is key. As you can see here, the international schools are spread well across the city, and we can guide you on the commute times and some of the communities that are popular within the community of the school. If we can just go to the next slide. So most of you will likely be looking at Dubai at this point for your school search. But as your move plan evolves, you may want to consider Abu Dhabi on your radar, which is also home to some exceptional offerings of international schools. And our team can support you on that as well. We work very closely with the schools across both of the Emirates. Okay, so factors to consider when we are looking at international schools. You're going to naturally want to consider the curriculum. Many families feel that they want to stay in the British curriculum. Sometimes that's from a place of sticking with what we know, because sometimes it feels a little bit safer. Sometimes it's if you don't know how long your move is going to last for and you want to facilitate an easy transition maybe back to the UK as well. But we can guide you on the different curriculum options, and maybe you can take advantage of a wider catalogue of curriculum here in the UAE and give your child the opportunity to try something a little bit different. You're going to want to consider language support options. So if your child may need some English as an additional language support, we can also guide you on bilingual programs. You will want to look at ECA, so extracurricular offerings. A big part of a child's identity is the sports that they do or their hobbies, or that's really what makes them them at this point. And so we work with you to understand what it is that really brings joy to your child so that we can ensure that they can continue those activities when they're here in the UAE. Obviously, considering price and tuition fees, we can guide you on the schools that fit within your budgetary parameters. We can guide you on the academic outcomes. Some schools are very selective, and there's quite a strict entrance exam, and they may only take maybe the top 20 or 30%. They're very selective with who they accept into their school, and others are very, very inclusive. And we can guide you on that depending on what type of school it is that you're looking for your child. We'll always provide maps for you so that you can orientate yourself about the city, and we'll plot the schools on there for you. And we also make sure that the schools that we recommend to you are working in alignment with your family's educational values. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's dig into curriculum pathway options a little bit deeper. So the main three curriculum pathway options that we see families choosing in the UAE are the US curriculum, the UK curriculum, and the IB curriculum, or the IB philosophy, if you like. For yourselves who are based in the UK, the US curriculum isn't an obvious choice. Unless you decided, or your child has already decided they're looking at college or university in the US, or if you have been advised that the UK curriculum, the British curriculum, is too academically demanding or rigorous for your child, and that they might benefit from a curriculum that doesn't go to quite the same depth of learning, then we might discuss the UK curriculum. But I would say the large majority of UK families are primarily focused on UK curriculum and IB curriculum. The key difference between those two is that the UK curriculum, which many of you will be familiar with because it is the British national curriculum that is offered in state schools in the UK, is very traditional. It's still quite heavily knowledge-based and exam-focused, whereas the IB curriculum, or the IB approach, the tagline for it is that students are taught how to learn rather than just what to learn. So it's increasingly popular because we know that AI is going to take over a lot of the knowledge-based elements of the work world. And the IB is thought to be upskilling students ready to take transferable skills into the world with them. So the UK curriculum has strong subject mastery, whereas the IB is a bit more inquiry-based. It produces much more independent learners because the curriculum isn't quite so spoon-fed, ready for exam preparation. It's a bit more research-focused. The IB works for students who really get quite panicky in exam situations because there is a range of ways that they can submit their work. They can submit portfolios and coursework, and they can get feedback rather than it all be down to that one day and having to do well in that 1 hour. At the end of the school journey in the international setting, the IB stays a lot broader in terms of the areas of study, whereas in the British curriculum, it usually goes down to just 3 subjects. So when we have the conversation with you, when you book in for your education consultation, we'll dig into your students' school reports, how they like to learn, where they really find success in their learning. And then we can use that information to really guide you as to which curriculum is going to be best for them. And sometimes that might be different for different siblings. Sometimes we have one brother who's really focused on physics chemistry and say maths, but never wants to do an extended piece of writing again in their life, in which case A levels might be great for him. And then we might have another brother who's a really broad and balanced learner and doesn't actually know which subjects they want to specialize in yet, in which case the IB might be better for them. But it's very tailored approach, and we can work with you very closely to decide what's best for your child. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this is what we were talking about earlier. When we've decided whereabout, or you've decided whereabouts you're going to live in Dubai or maybe Abu Dhabi, and we've decided on curriculum pathways, we've looked at your budgetary requirements. Really, a lot of the difference comes down to whether the school is right for you and aligned with your family values. When we're looking at premium British schools, they all have incredible facilities. They all have a fairly similar recruitment budget. So you're getting teachers and leadership there that are as experienced as each other. And that's why we really recommend doing tours if you get the chance to, because that's what's really going to give you the insight to the tiny differences and the nuances between the schools. So during our conversation, we will have a discussion about your family values and what's really important to you, so we can make sure that we're aligning schools that reflect that and maybe echo that conversation of values that you have around the dinner table at night. So, for example, your family might be really focused on academic outcomes, or you might be looking for a more holistic approach that's going to be a bit more focused on student well-being. You might be looking for something that's really going to develop the character of your child. You might be looking for a super structured learning environment because that's what your child responds really well to. Or it might be that your child really wants something a bit more child-led and inquiry-based, and that's how they succeed. We'll talk about extracurricular activities. Maybe you want to know a bit more about their pastoral care. What is their behavioural policy like, their uniform policy? How tight of a ship do they run, if you like? And then it might be that you're looking for a familiar curriculum that maybe you and your partner have done and all the other siblings have done, or you might want to explore something different. And again, like we spoke about earlier, we can talk about student diversity to make sure it's in alignment with what you're looking for. Okay, next one, please. We can also give you some insight into things like the term dates. So in general, the term dates over here in the UAE reflect the term dates in the UK. We do start a little bit earlier, so we start at the end of August rather than the first week of September. But generally, the terms follow and mirror the school terms at home in the UK. So term 1 is August until December. Term 2 is January until March or April, and then term 3 is April, usually until July. We do break up a little bit earlier. That said, international schools will accept admissions and applications all year round. Every week of the academic year, when I was working in the classroom, we would have new children joining the year group, with the exception of very late in term 3, because it's just not beneficial to join too late and then have that really big summer break. But they generally will accept applications all year round. And then when we have our consultation, we will then send you a catalogue of schools, which I'll go into a bit more detail in a moment. But you'll see on there will be the KHDA rating or the ADEC rating. So KHDA are the government entity that oversee education in Dubai. ADEC as a government entity that oversee education in Abu Dhabi. I guess the closest thing to compare them to in the UK would be your Ofsted. What's worth remembering, and what we always advise parents to do, is the ratings or the rankings are really use them as one tool in your toolkit when you're considering your toolkit of school search, if you like. The reason being is that those ratings or the schools the criteria for the inspection criteria is exactly the same for every school across Abu Dhabi or every school across Dubai, regardless of curriculum, regardless of philosophy. And so Some schools come out very, very well, and some schools um, for example, IB schools do very well in areas like innovation, whereas the British schools do very well in terms of progress because they churn out lots of data. So there are some limitations, is what I'm saying. So use it as just a slice of your consideration. There are also other ratings to consider. So if you are looking at British curriculum schools, the British Schools Overseas Award are probably actually more relevant for you because they're more closely related to the Department of Education criteria in the UK. But again, once you've decided which pathway you want to take, we can guide you on those inspection frameworks to consider. There's also other things to think about when you look at a KHDA rating or an ADEC rating. It might be good or very good with maybe outstanding features, but for everything that you want in a school, it might still be outstanding. So, for example, my own children are in a very good school with outstanding features, but the reason it didn't get outstanding was because of the Islamic provision and the Arabic provision, which for our family dynamic wasn't so important. So worth kind of contextualizing it. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, application timeline. This is always a consideration. We do say that, as mentioned, applications are open all year round. So the steps for the application process are we research for you and with you, and then produce a shortlist for you. You submit your application, and then we will book in your assessments for you and your interviews for you. And then eventually you will have some offers on the table. We will help you to compare and contrast them. You secure your seat with a deposit, and then we gently hand you over to the school team for enrolment. Early applications are always easier. So in an ideal world, we recommend applying 6 to 12 months ahead for the top schools. That isn't always the case. Sometimes job opportunities come up and you have to make very quick decisions. We're working with families this week that are looking for seats in January. It's not ideal, but we can certainly make it work. But in an ideal scenario, you'll give yourself 6 to 12 months ahead of the start date. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so let's just wrap up some of the benefits for attending schools in Dubai. As we've mentioned, they get outstanding academic results. This year, in the last 2 years, we've seen that they have outdone some of the top private schools in the UK, some of the top international schools here in Dubai. So they are working in true alignment with world-class education. There is a diverse student population. There's a rich selection of academic curriculum pathways. Sports and music programs are exceptional here in the UAE, not only because of the facilities, but because the government is putting so much support and funding into arts and sports programs for children. There are always international travel opportunities to really every corner of the world. There are boarding options, not as many as you'll find in the UK, but we can advise you on the schools that do offer boarding options, which is a really brilliant opportunity for some families, particularly if parents are traveling a lot. It provides that sense of belonging and that base for the student. And an international learning experience. So not just what they're learning in terms of curriculum, but what they're going to be learning culturally from all of their friends who are from a real melting pot of cultures. Okay, next slide, please. So these are just some of the questions that might be on your mind right now, and it's really normal to feel overwhelmed by the complexity of the landscape over here, but that is where we are here to help. So let's explore some of the ways that we tailor our approach to meet your family's unique needs. So we offer a full range of school search services. We understand that finding the right school is a deeply personal decision for you and your family, and it's one that must be aligned with your family's educational needs, your location requirements, your budget, and any specific learning requirements that your child might have. And so we take all of that into consideration when we work with you and we begin your school search service. At EDSG, we mindfully support families throughout the school search process, ensuring that the school is just right for you and your child, whether it's the curriculum pathway or whether it's the school's philosophy and their ethics and their values. We'll make sure that they are aligned with what it is that you're looking for. So rather than navigating this journey alone and trying to make your way through all of the wonderful marketing assets that are on the websites, we can help you turn down the noise of all of that and all of the information on social media, and we can make sure that you're looking at a search that is just right for you. Okay, next slide, please. I can't hear that, Ron. Sorry, I don't know if anyone else could hear that, but I couldn't. So I don't want to make anyone sit there for a couple of minutes. Okay, this will give you just an overview of how we can help you. So the first thing that we do when we meet you is we book you in for an education consultation. So Emma, if you could just pop that into the chat again. So if anyone wants to click on the link now and open up a tab, when we finish the presentation, you can book yourself in for a consultation at a time that's right for you. So you will meet with your consultant and they will provide an overview of the education landscape. You guys have already had a lot of that, so we won't need to go into that. But what we will do is a real deep dive needs analysis of what is right for you and for your child. And then from there, we shortlist the schools. So as we've said, there are hundreds of options, but actually the amount of schools that are going to be right for your child are not nearly that wide, especially when we've done our job well. We should be able to reduce it down to about 5 schools that are meeting all of your requirements. So we produce a shortlist for you, which is an online catalogue, which really becomes an ongoing resource for you and your school search. And then we plan your school visits for you. So hopefully you'll be doing a pre-move visit and we can get you into the schools, because that's a really crucial part of your school search and a real way of experiencing the pulse of the school and the organizational culture in there. So we will schedule your school tour for you. If you can't get to the country before the move, then we'll make sure that we facilitate online tours, and you can meet the academic team, the admissions team. Sometimes you can meet some existing families, just to make sure that you've got as comprehensive of a sense of the school virtually as possible. Then we offer you application guidance. So we will make sure that we work closely with you throughout the application process. We'll give you regular updates. We advise you on assessment strategies and scheduling. And then once you've completed your application, the support doesn't stop there. We can offer you holistic support. We know that moving to a new country can be emotionally challenging for children. They might be feeling anxious about leaving friends. And we can offer you lots of resources. We've got a whole bank and catalogue of blogs that we've written that have supported many families. And if there's anything more specific, then we'll always be here to help you, happy to help you. And then we offer the onboarding support. So we make sure that you've got everything that you need to pass you over to the school team so that they can welcome you and enroll you in the school of your choice. So here's an example of some of the blogs that we've written. If there's anything more specific, then do ask us questions. We're always looking for ideas of what parents might need at this point in their search. So more than happy to write a blog about something that you might be unsure about or to guide you. If you just head over to our website, you'll find lots of practical advice. It's always backed by evidence-based research. It's never just opinion or information that we get. It's either research or information that we get from on the ground from the admissions managers and directors. So it's a really useful resource. I would really recommend that you go and look at the advice over there. This is our feedback from the families that we've worked with. We have got an average of 4.9 out of 5. on our reviews, and families that we work with consistently tell us that we made their transition over to the UAE much easier, and that they felt like they were making a truly informed choice on their school search, having worked with us. Okay, that is us and everything that I have to share with you. I'm just going to open the floor. If we've got any questions, feel free to ask them now, or you can put them in the chat. Have there been any questions, Amar, that have come up that you've not been able to get to? No? Okay. Let me just see if there's anything in the chat here that's... Okay. I can't see any questions coming through. Okay, Amar's just put my meeting link there to book in with me. So if you want to book yourself into a one-to-one virtual education consultation, then you can do that there. We will also send you a follow-up email, and I'll pop the link in that email as well. If you've got any questions, you can pop them in here, and I'll happily answer them. Oh. Someone is saying that they can't see the link in the chat to the booking meeting. Oh, hi, Tarek. Our chat's been disabled on this meeting. Oh, okay. Tarek's asking about the recent age cutoff changes in Dubai. Yeah, very much on everyone's lips at the moment. This was announced yesterday on social media. So as it stands at the moment, the age cutoff is the 31st of August, as it is in the UK. So makes it a lot easier for families coming from the UK. It was announced yesterday on social media that for FS1, so that's the year before reception in the UK, FS1, FS2, and year one, there will be more flexibility, allowing students, rather than the cutoff sticking at the 31st of August, they are proposing an extension to the 31st of December. This was announced yesterday, but the admissions teams and the schools themselves have had no official circular or communication from KHDA or ADEC, so the government entity that oversee education. So we think that it is going to make it more flexible, but at the moment we don't have any official communication from the government. We will be the first to find out. I will make sure of it. So before, we are keeping on top of it, and I've got quite a few admissions directors that are in talks with the government at the moment. So as soon as they find out, they are going to feed back to us. Any other questions? The Q&A, you can put a question in by the looks of it. There's usually a question or two around special educational needs. If your child has a special educational need, then we can discuss all of that in a consultation. I would guide you on the steps depending on your child's provision or their need of provision, and we can dig into any diagnosis reports, any independent education plan, and I can talk to you how that process will translate over here. Teachers available. Is there a good supply of teachers in the UAE? Yes. Yeah. And the standard of teaching and learning is incredibly high now. It's very much a region of the world that people want to come and live in. And so that means that in terms of talent, schools are getting the best of the best. The packages are still very good, still very appealing place to live with the sunshine and the no tax. And so yeah, the caliber of teaching and learning is higher than it's ever been, which is a nice problem for recruitment managers to have in the school. Okay, another question coming through. How common is it for employers to fund or partially fund school fees? My employer will probably cover some. Wife's a teacher if she lands a job there. Okay. Yeah, okay. It does, yeah, you're right. It differs from employer to employer. Some packages will cover all of the tuition fees, and then you've really got full choice of the market. Some employers will give you a contribution to education, and you can top it up should you choose. Say if you've got 50,000, then we can suggest a short list of schools that sit within those budgetary requirements. Or if you wanted to add to it, we can kind of we can showcase to you the difference in those brackets of tuition fees. If your wife goes and works in a school, she would have to be on her own visa rather than your visa to get the benefits. Um, so if she's working on a local visa and she's on yours, she will not get the benefits of the education fees paid for. Usually, as a teacher, it's usually one or two seats are covered. Any other questions? Okay. Okay. I think that's it then, guys. I hope that has been helpful and that you are leaving the session feeling more informed. Um, as I said, please do book in with us and then we can really tailor the support. Everything from now forward is really quite school specific and child and student specific. So book on and we will guide you through each and every step. Hang on, I've got one more question come through. How easy is the school commute in Dubai? I hear the traffic is very bad. What does this typically look like? Are there school buses? Okay, yeah, school buses are really common. So every school will work with STA, which is the school bus provider. It's the same for every school across Dubai. They are incredibly well run and governed. So children as young as 4 are getting on school buses. There are bus nannies. You can ask to put your own child seat in. There are very strict laws on the roads around school buses, so they're very protected, and it works very well. The traffic in Dubai is bad. I can't candy coat it. That is just the reality of the situation, and so it is a consideration. But if you're choosing, what tends to happen with families is they get the job, then they choose the school, and then they choose the home. And that's usually a very sensible way to do it because you don't want to fall in love with a beautiful community and then the perfect school for your child is an hour away because the the school day is longer than the UK anyway. It starts earlier, and certainly with extracurricular activity finishes later. So you don't want your child sat on a bus or in traffic for 2 hours a day. So we can guide you through that. If you've got a couple of areas or communities that you're really interested in, then we will give you a sensible radius of school options around that area. I would say it's very normal for children to travel 30 minutes. Um, Can I comment on older children regarding university? Your eldest is starting A levels soon. Youngest is in primary school. So yeah, we can definitely guide you on A level options. And we can explore whether A level options are the best option for your eldest, or we can give you some insight into the IBDP as well, which is the alternative on the IB pathway. Um, the there are an increasing amount of university options here in the UAE. Particularly British universities are opening up campuses over here. We don't have them on our database, and so we can't advise specifically on universities, but we are seeing many A-level students choose, or many more A-level students anyway, do their A-levels here in the UAE and choose to stay here. So, for example, the University of Birmingham has a campus in Dubai now. Whether your child goes to the University of Birmingham in the UK or here in Dubai, their their degree is still from the University of Birmingham. So we're seeing more students stay here. No other questions. Okay. Okay, guys, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll look forward to helping you and your family on your school search. All right. Take care. Bye.